Hello, friends. Today we finally got to the book wrap up. It's been about a month and a half, I believe, and I have a massive list of books. So buckle up. Um, let's start. So let's start with the books that I don't have as physical copies at the moment because either they were audiobooks that I read them as, or I already donated them away because we were moving midway this section. So let's start. Strawberry Thief is the first one. I mean, I mentioned it before because it's part of Chocolate series. It follows. It's the last in Chocolate series by Joanna M. Harris. It follows them returning to Lasgane, I believe, which the first book was based on. And basically, you can sense that a big gap of time has passed. Her daughters are all grown up now, and it focuses more on the second daughter, who's basically hitting teen years. I think ever since the third book, the topics definitely grew heavier. Almost every book introduces new characters into them, because obviously the town people and so on. And I think the prominent ever character in Strawberry Thief, similarly as in Lollipop Shoes, we had a lady who joined the chocolatier. In Strawberry Thief, we have another lady who is a tattoo artist, which I thought was an interesting detail. But basically, yeah, I love the chocolate series. I like Joanna M. Harris, and I definitely feel like it's definitely worthwhile continuing with this series. If you started, if you haven't, definitely worthwhile starting. You can read them as standalones. It's easy if you don't. But because they all spaced in like almost 4 years apart, they are possible to read as standalones as well. Now, next book is Fourth Wing. Everyone was talking about it. It's a young adult fantasy about a dragon riders, a school of dragon riders, and it's a series. So I started the Fourth Wing. I finished it. I liked it a lot. It was a binge read, and I think it's quite starts very strongly with the characters in introduction, definitely, and it's very easy to follow. I definitely know that some people had backlash about its literary sort of content. I don't think we felt this high quality enough a read, but I did enjoy it. It does turn a little bit too intimate for my liking at the last third of the book, let's say. And once it did, it doesn't stop being very intimate, I would say. For some time, it was difficult to get from the bookshelf, so that alone tells you that it could be a recommendation. I enjoyed it. Yellow Face by R.F. Kuang. Again, that was something that everyone was anticipating because R.F. Kuang is such a prominent writer in the fantasy world. So we all know Poppy Wars and Babel, but Yellowface is definitely in a different category. It's a book about publishing, and it is a fiction sort of retelling of a publishing world. Sad to say that I didn't enjoy it. It was a bit too real for me. The names of publishing companies and shops and so on thrown around. Quite negative vibe around it. I just wondered if Eric Kwong is reflecting some sour experience in it. Because even reading her fantasy books, you can definitely feel that there is some personal experience possibly poured into it. But like Babel was all about like university life, so I think I didn't enjoy Yellowface, and I felt that Earth Quank is brilliant and she writes fantasy, but I didn't. I might not pick the next realistic book she does. That is my take on it. Going back, and I should have done it all together now, for my Patreon in August, we had picked up more Joanna Paris. Really, I enjoy her books. So going away from chocolate series, we picked up Pocket Full of Crows, which is a very, very quick read, by the way. It's definitely like quite short. Again, I did it as an audiobook. And it is a sort of still fantasy, magical realism retelling about sort of almost like fairy people or folks, that forest people, let's say, or how I think we call them traveling or wild people, but in its own sense. I mean, it wasn't attached to anything in particular. Um, but basically, they're also nameless, and once they're given a name, they become attached and sort of lose power. It was very, very lovely, and how everything tied up. It tells story from several points of women, but obviously our main character is this one of these wild girls who falls in love and becomes basically stripped of his power, and sort of becomes a more, let's say, evil, and puts a curse on the person she loved because of broken heart, so on. But I want to say that it's very nice development, from something very innocent, to something wild, and the story ties up three stories of three ladies, let's say, all together. And it's nicely wrapped up at the end. I don't want to give any more details, but I just feel like it's very quick, very symbolic, very nice to listen to. John and Harris, I think what I really liked in the audiobooks, that it was very pleasant to listen. And I noticed that the narrator for books was the same one. And then only recently I realized that it's actually read by John Harris, and it just flows. And next one is also hers. It's A Cat, a Hat, and a Piece of String. And that's an essay collection. So obviously all the different stories. The favorite story in them was about a lady who had almost like phantom pregnancy, and then she does deliver something. So it also has that magical realism string to it, as all the other stories, I believe. Now some of the books that I do have, I got this one called Delicious Dungeon. It's a manga, I believe. And I only picked up quite recently in Waterstones because I thought, yeah, food in a dungeon sounds like a nice mix. Now, I probably expected much more from it than I got. It read quite quickly, but it didn't quite give me enough food vibes. It's about these characters that basically go, I believe, hunting and cooking into the dungeon. The nice part is there is little like stats on each meal, and I really like things like that. And oh, let's see, it's like omelette, and it does give you like little stats on the side and a recipe. Oh, here we go. The little stats, right? So these details, I sort of like details like that. So I like that attention. As a story, I think it didn't hook me enough, so I probably wouldn't continue with it. Gathering Moss, I read Braiding Sweetgrass, and I just got this as a sort of continuation of the series. It's more of, again, essay collection, let's say we can call it. It's more like insights on nature and sort of relation, some scientific insights and some native insights as well. Now, Braiding Sweetgrass now also making its way around everyone. It was very lovely to read and most therapeutic. Now, Gathering Moss is much a thinner book, but actually much harder to read. Even though it's the same writer, the vibe feels a bit different. It's way too scientific, I felt. Like it starts getting into like types of moss and like, little micro schemes, and like it's lent too much into science for my liking, and I felt like really different vibe coming from it. So I won't have such a strong recommendation on this one. Next one is a middle grade, Green Glass House. I didn't realize that it is a very wintry book. I know it was, I picked it up from recommendations of winter books from another booktuber, but I didn't realize that the end of it is around, I believe, Christmas. So it's really more suitable for winter time in that sense. Now, however, it's a ghost story, so you can probably still tailor it to the late autumn. It's also a mystery story, so there's definitely something mysterious about this house. One of the characters gets pulled into this solving mystery case, really. And also it overlaps with like almost D&D type of game. Basically, it's a bit of mashup of a couple of different things, but I think I really enjoyed because I really like how in the shows we do D&D sort of episodes. So it was interesting to see that sort of type thing in fiction in a book. So it was almost like pretend game, and magical things can happen. But obviously, it reels out to be a different type of story twins. But I still enjoyed it. A little slow. Loved how it ends. So really, really would say if you're looking for a ghost story that is still cozy, slow paced, and a mystery, with some game elements, that's really your call here. Next ones. These are super, super adorable. So I read these are super, super adorable. So I read Hooky Volume 1 and 2, and I love the art style. Very, very cute. Very fitting for like autumn vibes because it's about sibling witches. There is a lot going on in terms of the plot. It's very incoherent in the beginning, so might be harder to follow. But there's actually we follow these two twin witches. They have their own skills. They're have its own quirks. Let's say. And in the beginning, we get taken under wing of another witch to train them. But basically, I won't say any more because there's a lot of lines and intertwining in the entire story. And there's entire line around why they were taken under the wing of this witch, and also entire line of their sort of parents and very complex family dynamics. And the second book definitely focuses more on the family plots and family dynamics, I would say. The first felt a bit lighthearted because it was just getting into that plot. It is very slow paced too. So the first book felt almost just like an introduction to it, really very late into the plot. Things start changing, I would say. Cute vibes. It's colored and beautiful in art style. Characters very recognizable, easy to follow. The main characters are very, heroic. Let's say not necessarily heroic, but have the nice traits to them, despite all the things that are happening. So like positive. It brings with positivity in some sense. Next one is the Woodwife. Terry Winling Woodwife, I actually enjoyed it. It's not very thick in the story, it's really the vibe what you would get from it. But another artist comes to investigate, not like investigate, but just look around the area where her mentor died. And this mentor's wife was a painter who went crazy or something like that. But it's really more like cozy reminiscing. It's based in this desert-like area, and you definitely can feel the cool desert nights. That's what I wrote, cozy cold desert nights and tea kettles on my nose, because in the beginning and throughout the book was a lot of tea drinking in it. So like it does feel very cozy despite, some Avatar story elements. It's again a lot of magical realism in it, communication with animals and so on. But it's really read as very, very cozy and not heavy on the story. I would say definitely a recommendation. I did read first book of Darker Shade of Magic, and because I finished a read along with Victoria Schwab on her YouTube and I just listened to it. So obviously I do know what the plot is gonna be like, but I don't mind it actually. Maybe it will be easy if I do pick up a physical book or so on. But I actually felt like I need to get through the books itself because I know Victoria Schwab is a brilliant writer and her style is very nice and how she words things is beautiful. So definitely worth, going through the books myself. It actually feels much slower than I expected. And again, the first book is very introductory. She did mention she's a writer who introduced the components, so she did mention she tends to write slow. I still enjoyed it, but it doesn't feel like all that action I'm awaiting is in that book yet. More graphic novels, because if you were on my Patreon, I said I was really thinking about graphic novel selections of the month, really, more than anything. Paper Girls is, I've never seen this book before, and once I've seen it randomly on Amazon, I believe, I definitely felt like I had to pick it up. I was in a silly hero vibe at that point, like a cartoony vibe. And I felt like I really loved this art style. And I still hold on to it. I think that art style is beautiful. And look at these fruit. So it's more like a magical girl superhero story. Our new main character superhero gets, magical girl gets selected. Her wand looks like a pineapple, which I felt was hilarious. But it was very, very quick read and quite simple, cute, but art is just beautiful. Like spreads, massive spreads, were just so pretty. Yeah, I really like this art style. Or look at this. Love it. Very, 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 very cute art. Yeah, who doesn't like fruits? As I'm not quite sure about the name, but it's written by Maggie Ward, and I know her from Offer To, and she wrote this book, which is a very light read. But if you look in different aspects, so we spoke about witches, spoke about ghosts, and spoke about different aspects of Halloween that you can include into your reads. The next one would be zombies, which I don't read zombie books anyway. Anyway, so her book is called, I believe, How to Survive Zombie Apocalypse and Become a Crazy Cat Lady or something like that. I'll put the cover on the side. So it's a very light read what you expect from the zombie apocalypse read. I would say I was more impressed how she can spin a story out of anything. And in this case, we were talking about specific yeast used in almost any food product in America, which it didn't need to be in. It's not really flavor or anything. And she made the story about this, or another yeast, let's say, yeast causing a apocalypse, causing a zombieism, basically. The nice thing is that it also starts sort of with almost like in a desert and mentioning the pastet and paros, and it felt like almost mummy cars in the beginning, and also the only cure or immunity to this is cat saliva, I believe. So that's why a cat lady. But anyway, I read it very quickly. It's more that sort of easy, quick read, whatever you can expect for zombie apocalypse. Space Boy. This is just a volume 1. I am definitely gonna go through more of these. Again, something I haven't seen before, and randomly picked it up, and it's very interesting premise. It's one of the sci-fi, right? Aliens. Next category, aliens. Anyway, it's basically about living in this colony where if something is not quite right, you might get sent back to Earth. But while you're being sent back, because of the travel is so long, you get frozen for like 40 years. And then woken up in this new world, new Earth, and basically reintegrated into it. So we follow this girl, but this happened to her because her dad made a mistake at work, so we were being sent back to Earth. which means we were frozen for another 30 years. And in this timeline, she comes back to Earth. And obviously there's another boy, which looks, she notices something different about him, because she has this condition where you, I believe, associate either colors with smells. So basically, in her case scenario, she associates people with smells, and she found that he doesn't really have smell, doesn't really get that much further yet into the story. I think, again, first books are introductions. But I definitely like the premise. I like how it's written. I liked how cute the art is. Again, very, I think, unique in its own, with the makeup session. Anyway, I love the art style in itself, so I think I'm definitely gonna carry on with that one. Now, another graphic novel is called Always Never. It was very unique in the sense that it is about this couple's relationship, let's say, but I was struggling to realize how I should read it, because it starts, so it has all the credits and everything in the beginning and the title, and it definitely looks like the right way to read it. But then it starts with chapter 20. The pages are, however, numbered, in the right order. But if you flip back, the last chapter is called chapter 1. And that's what really got me confused. But however, I realized that you are supposed to read it the usual way. Since the graphic novels can be read from other way around, I think that's where my confusion was coming from. This is a story about this old couple, right, who basically talk about their past. I would say it's almost going backwards in time. And it does follow that trend that it's actually going sort of backwards. That's another confusing part of it. So basically, what happened in their lives and how they aged and so on. I think it's very nice story in general. It's lovely. I think it's these two friends that you could tell they liked each other to some degree, but they got on with their lives, and the lady got married, had kids with other people, right? And they just meet at this later time of their lifetime. Another one, and this really big recommendation from my side of things, is No Such a Thing as an Easy Job. I've literally just finished it very, very recently. A book about a girl who keeps changing jobs because of a recent burnout. So she's looking for something very easy, and she has this, let's say, agent who helps her find jobs, and that agent never frowns on her, and always okay, I got you. You got, for example, you got too invested in your job, they'll get you something else, like emotionally invested or so on. So every job is very quirky, and even though it's something where you basically do nothing and just watch surveillance tapes, something else happens that makes it complicated. It's gonna be either weird co-worker dynamics, or finding out that, I don't know, ghostly things are happening, and all that sort of things, which definitely makes it more complicated for this girl. And it didn't go through too many jobs. I think it's gone through about 4 or 5 of them. So I actually was hoping there's going to be more. But it does have that very unique Japanese storytelling and very unique situations you would never meet. So it's such an odd book, and I absolutely loved it. Now, the last one, and I'm still reading this one, is Threads That Bind. It's a modern, based in a modern world, and I believe it's a Greek writer. Originally, I also thought it was Japanese writer because of a complex name, but actually, I think it's a Greek writer, and she gets into the roots of her, ancestry, in the sense that the story is about people who descended from God, so we still hold some sort of power. The main character is descended from Moiras, and basically she's descended from Fates, who can cut and see threads. of lives, and it opens up very nicely in the sense that she's like an investigator, like a private investigator. She gets riled into a situation where she sees someone who doesn't have their life threats and is murderous. So it's really like, this is like a first scene, so I'm not really spoiling a lot, but I think that scene really got me, and I really loved that beginning. I don't think it's as strong necessarily going on. I haven't finished it yet, but I'm very close to finish, and I believe I'm going to do a book club next week with my patrons. I believe that's it. I believe we reached the end of all the books that span from what I read in August to mid-September. There's some really good picks. There's a lot of graphic novels, so you can pick and choose whatever you like. Like I say, there are some picks you can use for autumn, and there are some cozy ones. So it's really nice mix of everything. There are middle grades, so you have your choice of picks really. And I hope you enjoyed this wrap up. Do let me know if you've already read any of them and you really like them, or any other recommendations for me. I'll see you next time. Bye.